Welcome! I'm glad you're here. This is Brandy. Imagine you've stepped back in time. You live in rural Idaho, sometime near the Great Depression. This picture will give you an idea of the times and how you might have been dressed. Rural Idaho is dry and the temperature was hot from late spring through early fall. This sweet little guy here, this is my grandfather, Billy, and one of his jobs on the farm was to prime the pump. The pump was located out yonder behind this barn, and when it was time to water the animals, my grandpa would pump the lever several times, creating suction in that pipe, drawing water up out of the well and through the pump. Once that occurred, he would only have to pump the lever once or twice to increase the flow. Once he had enough water, he would stop pumping the lever and the water would drop back down into the well, slowly, so you wouldn't have to prime the pump for a few minutes after it was last used. But wait long enough and you had to prime it all over again, as the suction would have dropped off and the water would not be available. Fast forward 100 years, and we're doing the same type of thing in learning programs today. We're priming the pump as we prepare our learners for their learning experience. We provide opportunities for our learners to begin thinking about the learning, experiencing it, thinking about their goals, and how the learning will be relevant to them and to their lives. Ideally, if we can give them an emotional connection to the learning before the process even begins, we'll have a much better chance of engaging them. We prime the pump by providing thought-provoking questions. As a result of today's training, you'll be able to create meaningful activities before your participants even step into the classroom. Their experiences beforehand will get learners excited about the learning to come and start them thinking about how they will use this learning in their professional lives. Word will get around that you're a presenter who offers engaging learning experiences, ensuring that you have standing room only at upcoming training sessions, both face-to-face and virtually. The story I told you about my grandfather? That was a reflective prompt, a recorded storytelling experience that connected you to the learning. In order to make it pre-work, I would send you the story out ahead of time with a few thought-provoking questions for you to answer before I presented the rest in the training. I might ask questions like, compare this story of priming the pump to the work we do as facilitators when we facilitate learning. How do we prime the pump for our learners? What do you currently do to get your learners excited about coming to your program, your classes, or your presentations? What do you believe learners need or want to engage in order to develop their skills and competencies? Those kind of questions get your brain connected to the learning. Our brain naturally makes connections. Have you ever thought about what leads our brain to make connections from one idea to the next? I can speak from experience that my brain has a tendency to go down rabbit trails. I can be cooking a knockoff Olive Garden soup recipe. That leads me to a recent conversation I had at Olive Garden with my youngest cousin, which then leads me to thinking about my grandpa's crazy antics as a child. And that reminds me that it's my grandma's birthday, which gets me thinking that I need to call her and invite her over for a sleepover. Your rabbit trails may not be as crazy as mine, but all of our brains were designed to make these connections. After I decide what I'm teaching and create learning outcomes, I just let my mind wander. I go to a happy place inside my head and I begin connecting life experiences to what I'm teaching. For instance, today I was thinking about pre-work and why we do it. It made me think about priming the pump or hotting the pot, two old sayings that lead to the idea of preparing something ahead of time so it's more efficient. Then I think about stories I might have to support that learning. In this case, I knew that my grandpa lived in a time that required him to prime the pump. I also knew that I had a picture of my grandpa that I could use to make an emotional connection to the learning. This was a quick transition for me because the timing was right and I was in a relaxed learning state. Storytelling is just one way you can provide a connection to the learning. You can also provide opportunities for research, dialogue before class begins, a pre-assessment to determine what they already know, or a wide variety of other options. Keep in mind, people connect to the learning in a variety of ways. Pre-work is all about priming the pump. Think about various ways to get your participants engaged, excited, and involved. The better you know your subject, what's exciting about it, and the better you know your people who are coming, the more successfully you can find powerful experiences for them to have beforehand. You can learn about your participants through high quality pre work. Dave Meyer, the author of the Accelerated Learning Handbook, states that the first task of any learning program is to get the learners aroused, open, and ready to learn. Allow me to take you through a visualization exercise of what this activity might look like, sound like, and feel like for you as the facilitator as you design pre-work for your participants. Find a spot where you'll be undisturbed, where you'll have time to relax and explore possibilities. Have some paper and colored markers close by. Put on some relaxing music if you'd like. Make yourself comfortable. Perhaps you'd like to lean back in your chair and put your feet up, or even reclining all the way back in your lazy boy. Maybe you'd like to sit on the floor or lie on a yoga mat. Once you get settled, feel free to close your eyes or leave them open. Just make sure you find a spot to defocus if you're keeping your eyes open. It is just as important that you have time and space that's just for you. This allows you to access the part of your brain that will help with this process. Think about something simply that you're going to be teaching. Something you know a lot about. It could be anything. Choose something that you would like your participants to practice deeply and really internalize. Now allow yourself to just settle into a relaxed state of mind. Think about the learning and allow connections to your life and the lives of your participants to come to your mind. Notice how these ideas really connect to your content and to its importance. When you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Begin jotting your ideas down and settle on one or a couple that make the learning come alive. Create a story from those ideas if you want to connect to your learners via story. Think about your experiences and the connections that you make to the content. Make the story come alive by using a variety of senses and touching on your participants' emotions. Think about what learners could do before they come or before you introduce the new content. You may want to create an opportunity for them to answer some introductory questions. I use a tool called TitanPad, a tool that lets a group of people work on a document simultaneously. You can pose questions on the TitanPad and then people can work in small groups. They can have conversations with one another about the content before your first class. They can work on the TitanPad 24/7 and don't need to be on it at the same time. It's a great tool and I hope that you have a chance to take a look at it. Your goal as a facilitator is to create self-discovery projects in order for your participants to get their learners aroused, open, and ready to learn. The internet is a wealth of opportunity. Your learners could watch a video, read articles, go on a scavenger hunt, or any number of things to discover the learning and think about how it's important prior to your first session. Your job is to engage them in a variety of different ways. I often have participants watch a video prior to class and then have them come to class prepared to share based on a few question prompts that I give them ahead of time. This experience encourages learners to think about the learning to come. Watching a video that illustrates the importance of the content is a thought-provoking way to encourage learners to reflect. You can provide an opportunity for them to meet in small groups to share their experiences and their thinking with one another. Another favorite of mine that I need to use more often myself is to create previews prior to class starting. I do not know if you've ever been to a movie theater in a small town. My boys love to go to the movies 20 minutes before it starts so we can answer the Jeopardy style questions and read the fun facts that are on the big screen before the movies begin. Use the looping feature in Microsoft PowerPoint and you can create that same type of experience. Use this time to prime the pump and get learners excited about what's to come. Rather than merely visualizing the process, let's actually do it. Please think about something simple that you're going to be teaching, something you know a lot about. Pause this video and take a moment to determine what that topic is before you get started moving through these steps. Pause. Step 1. Get into a relaxed state. Relax your body and your mind and prepare your brain to make these connections. Pause this video and resume when you're in a relaxed state. Pause. Welcome back. You're now relaxed and ready to move to step 2. If you're going to introduce the learning with a story, brainstorm as many connections to the learning as possible. Think about ways to make the learning come alive for your participants by connecting it to something they can relate to. It might be valuable to take this time to think about how you might introduce this using a story. Continue to relax and let your brain begin to make connections with this learning and the vast experiences that you've had in your lifetime. Pause this video and try this now. Pause. I hope you enjoyed my favorite step of the process, making those wonderful learning connections. Let's move on to step 3. Determine the needs and background of the learners that you're going to be presenting this pre-work to. What self-discovery learning project can you design to pique the interest of your learners? Get them excited about the best that's yet to come. Brainstorm as many ideas as you can, capturing these ideas. You may not use them now, but you might use them in future classes. So please keep them safe because we're going to springboard to a variety of different techniques we can use to capture the attention of all learners prior to our training. Pause this video now and capture these ideas. I'm going to step back for just a moment and share a facilitator tip. You noticed I asked you to choose something simple. When you're asking your participants to try something for the first time, the process will likely be difficult because they haven't done it before. Since that's the case, you'll want the content to be familiar, as close to second nature as possible. When you move into assessment, you want the content to be authentic, as close to the workplace as possible. In other words, at that point, align the experience to their role in the company. As a result of this video session, you learned how to create meaningful learning experiences before your participants even step into the classroom. These opportunities were designed to meet a variety of learning styles and resulted in your learners wanting to fully engage with the content on the first day of class and use these strategies in their professional lives. Word will get around that you're a facilitator who offers engaging learning opportunities, ensuring that your sessions will be full and people will be excited to be part of your training. So how'd we do? Share some of your ideas with others in the company. It can be a colleague or someone in your school who might be able to brainstorm more ideas with you. Ask them to give you feedback on the ideas you came up with and contribute a few of their own. Were there particular ideas that stirred something inside of them that would make them want to participate in the activity? How might you change or combine ideas to make them better? Thank you so much for your time and attention. You worked hard creating meaningful pre-work activities using the 3-step process. Cheers to you. Your future learners are lucky to be learning from you. See you next time. Bye for now.